everyone, my name's Elise, welcome back to another video, and today I have a very special video. So as you know, the LCS happened last weekend. There are a lot of cool things that happened, and there's one in particular I wanted to be able to highlight because it's one that's very near and dear to me, and it is this rock deck in front of me and the person that played it. Jib, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Jibriel. How's everyone doing?
Doing pretty alright, you know. We're there. So, Jib, what did you do this weekend?
I got top 16 at the LCS number 10 3v3 with Adamancipators. My team ended up first after Swiss. So shout out to Nick Petzold and Mike Thomas. They were amazing teammates, and when the next 3v3 comes along, we're definitely having the run back because we did so good in the main event, and then we kind of fell short in Top Cut, and we won our revenge. Uncle Jib's Bakery will be back.
Yeah, you gotta rebuild the bakery for next time, right?
Yeah, basically.
And then your other teammates played Virtual World, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 Virtual World things.
Yep, so, and I think those were basically pretty standard for the most part, right?
Yeah, pretty standard. Yeah, pretty standard for the most part.
Yeah, so you're the one that has the most, interesting and outlandish deck, and especially for my channel, because obviously because of you, I've had a couple of rock videos on my channel, but this obviously looks vastly different for anything that we played before. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to go into first before I kind of go into what I want to talk about. So anything you want to say first?
Yeah, so usually the Adamancipator Pranket deck that has been seeing play mainly through you, your results, and Cody in his stream, and me sometimes on my stream, has been playing the Pandemonium engine. That engine is pretty good, but the issue with the engine is that you're playing basically a Dragoon engine with but the only difference is that the pieces aren't necessarily bricks because they're able to be normal summoned and be a starting point of your play. But in reality, you can just cut all of the bricky cards from the deck and from the engine and just play a smaller compact engine and just use them as synchro and link material to link climb and synchro climb. So yeah.
Yep, so I know that was something that we actually did discuss from the beginning, and I know part of the reason why we did keep the fusion engine in for probably as long as we did was the potential of playing around Droplet a bit. How did Droplet affect you playing in this weekend, potentially?
So going into this, one of the things that the deck had going for it, and I think it will continue to have going for it, going into Blaze and Vortex format, is that with the rising popularity of Virtual World, if you saw most of the Top Cut was filled with Virtual World, a lot of the day in general, 99 Virtual Worlds at the beginning of day 1, and even though none of them got to the top 8, the deck just is really strong, and Droplets is really mediocre against Virtual World unless you have it plus another hand trap that stops them from getting to the trap, or hoping that they don't hard open the trap. So cards Droplets were never dropped on me the entire tournament, and I wasn't really worried about them, and it wasn't an issue. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I figured, but there's always that chance it'll come up, and sometimes you'll just get blindsided by it, because even though it's not optimal against Virtual World, it's still a powerful card in the meta, and even a lot of people still choose to play it knowing that because of its versatility otherwise, so I was just curious if it could have had an impact on that, but it's good to know that it didn't. Then as far as things that I guess are maybe a little bit unstandard, I guess the extension engine being the 2-petting Cessor. I know you kind of said something to me before, but why don't you regale it for everyone else how you felt about that card, along with the Shade Brigadine.
Okay, so we'll start off with Shade because that's the easiest one. We're not playing any trap cards in the deck, so we'll always be able to summon in just a level 4 monster that can be summoned at any time. Petting Sister, on the other hand, honestly, after the event, and I don't know if my view is jaded, because out of the 8 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh that I played this weekend, I only won 1 dice roll, and I was going second a lot against a lot of Drytrons in Virtual World. But Penning Successor was like the worst card in the entire deck because like I'm either like hand trapping them or I'm going second into like a blind Coal Earth VFD because people know what I'm playing and know me for this deck. So I think going forward, like I would just cut the 2 copies of Penning Sisters and put 2 more hand traps in the main because like the deck, like obviously I was able to win some matches going second, but a lot of the matches that I was going second, I was like at a complete disadvantage because 6 hand traps is the optimal number for seeing 1 about like 50% of the time. So either 50% of the time you're seeing 1 hand trap, which isn't really going to stop a Virtual World deck or Drytron deck or like maybe, and then the other 50% of the time, like you're drawing no hand traps, and then you're just going straight to game 2. So like I think I'll just put like 2 more hand traps in the main, maybe try to find room for a third. But I think that 8 hand traps would have just like boosted my chances of at least like seeing 2, like to at least like maybe like a 40% or like a 35, like just increase the chance of me seeing 2 hand traps in my opening, and then like I think that would like make the deck like way better. But I think that other than that, like the main was like pretty solid.
Okay, gotcha.
Like no changes.
And so in playing a different hand trap, because I know one of the issues I personally had when thinking about how to make changes to this deck was having enough extenders. Do you think changing the Petting Cessor to another hand trap still makes it so you have enough extension and you can still play well enough? Or do you think there's other considerations you'd make to add in potential extenders?
Throughout the tournament, I never felt that I was like lacking extenders, and like it's funny enough, like we consider like Penning Sister an extender, but most of the time I had it in my hand, I couldn't even summon it, so I was like just playing without it. Gotcha. So yeah, would like you consider... 2 hand traps would just be like better in that spot.
Oh yeah. But I mean, would you even consider like maybe bumping the shade to 2 then in that point, just because like that's the hand trap or the extender that might not conflict the most, or would there potentially be something else?
Nah, I think it should be a hand trap because like I don't think extension was like the issue. Like usually most hands you're able to just like win, but like you like the issue is like going second and like not having enough cards to defend yourself to put yourself in a position to like win the game.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to say about the main deck at this point though.
So yeah, I saw one person in chat ask why emergency teleport.
Oh yeah.
Emergency teleport is basically it synergizes with your gamma and it just puts another tuner on the board. Like Fiber isn't that important in this deck, but Reptite is. So if you have another card that is just like a free tuner extender to summon out your hand to summon a Reptite, like that's really important. So yeah.
Right, and plus just again it goes back to the point of needing extenders, because even though it's gamma and it doesn't do much, like it's still a level 2 tuner, but at the same time it's just another thing to help link climb if you need to get to that point. So I think that's just something that can definitely exist and is nice for the deck. Before we go to the side or extra, is there anything else you guys would like to talk about? Oh yeah, I guess we could bring up the Cody point of Lampsies over Dropsies. How do you feel about that argument? Because Cody said with Lampsies, it just let him OTK easier with access and another monster.
Yeah, so like that is a really good like argument. Like I see Cody in chat talking hot.
Yeah, Cody, like... we're just doing the profile.
But it's alright.
Yeah.
So so Cody was right about like the Lampsies in that situation where like you can like burn your opponent, then it makes access plus Reptite game. And I understand the point, but like Dropsies like does have the optimal level, and even though like sometimes like that like doesn't matter, or like you're usually like using it to go into like Doodle to summon out another 4. I mean, I don't even know what I'm like arguing. Like I think like he kind of convinced me like Lampsies is just a better card. Like he's just right.
So we'll definitely
Like, he was
consider
right
that
about that.
going forward, even though like you don't always go into Hulk, so sometimes making Dragite live like doesn't come up then. But do you feel like it just doesn't matter at that point, and or?
I think fiber is gonna be in your grave most of the time, so like, I don't think like Dropsies being a water matters, and it being a level 2 is like all right. Like, I think like that happened once during the entire tournament where like I went Roxy's into Dropsies and I had like an analyzer on board and I just went straight for Raptite. But like, I guess I can also see like I'm trying to go for a game and I don't have enough material to get to the Synchro 8, and all I have is a Raptite plus access code, and I'm off by like you're like literally if you have Unicorn summoned access code plus Raptite on board, you're off by 400. And if you went through your prank kid play, then if you would have burnt them for 5, that would have been lethal, where you just give them another turn to potentially come back. So yeah, I understand playing Lampsies, and I think that like you can probably play Lampsies in the future. Yeah, it's
Okay.
fine.
Gotcha. And I guess we could just quick cover the hand traps too. I guess so. Ash Gamma is probably something really standard we've seen in all like the virtual world decks, and I think it's just been coming up, especially just because like I think I helped you influence the Ash choice a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that Ash is way too versatile, and then I think Gamma has the same point in this deck too, even though it's a card that doesn't function as well going first with this list. Do you think it still functions well enough to where it's not a... It doesn't feel like it's a brick even if you're going first with the card?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like a brick when you're going first with this deck, because like sometimes like the boards that you end on, like depending on how good your high rolls are, like your boards could be like not as powerful. So you can like, and you're drawing cards constantly with cards like Upstart and like Roxy. So like usually if your combo goes off, you're guaranteed to at least like draw another card at minimum, bare minimum 1. So like if you hit like an Ash, like a Ash is just like another form of disruption to help back up like a weaker board that you might have, and then like it just helps you. Like Ash is just a broken card. Like it's just really nice this format.
Weird. It's like I was right about it.
So Cody asked the question. He says sometimes I ask you blah blah. When would you ever suggest level? Did it matter? Free material for a link play? So like the time that I used Dropsies for Synchro Summon, I don't remember what the situation was exactly, but I think that like if I would have like it was like a weird play, because like I could have made the doodle and then summoned another 4 and then made Granite to grab Researcher, but like at that point I was like I'd rather just go straight into Raptite right there in order to like higher my chance of like any rock I hit being able to summon, because I think I was just like going for like a different line, you know. Okay. But like yeah, I could have just like went for like the RNG with the Raptite, but I mean RNG with the Researcher, but Researcher like inherently has less targets in the deck that it can hit. You know what I mean?
That makes sense, but yeah. Alright. So I think that covers everything we really need to say about the main deck then. Probably. So we can go over to the side and extra.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright. If anyone else has any questions, you can leave them and we can answer them like at the end, but we'll go to answering questions about the good old extra deck first. Alright, so here's the extra deck. We got the 1 Herald, both of the Adamancipators, the Savage, Granite, Dweller, Meow Meow, Almirage, and then the Doodle to go with the Meow Meow, Hulk, IP, Lambda, Phoenix, Unicorn, Apo, and Access Code. So I know as far as like most of this extra deck is pretty standard. It's something we've seen before. I know, for example, Cody's been really pushing this Lambda on his stream lately. How did you feel about playing this card?
So, before the event, like the night before the event, I hit up Cody and I was like, show me your list. And he's being stingy about it at first, but then like eventually he showed me his list. And I saw that he was playing the Lambda, and I was like, and I was playing Phoenix in that spot, and I was thinking about it. I was like, Phoenix never really comes up, so I'm gonna just take this and see how it works. And if it's trash, then I'll just complain about it to him that he sabotaged me. But then it actually was crazy. So like, kudos to him. He gave me a good card.
Okay, so it actually like really did come up and really make a difference.
Yeah.
So then I guess the other thing is, a lot of people always bring up to me, why not play Leonite? And I know for me, it just felt like it was win more, and there were just better cards to make a lot of the time. Would you feel the same way too about it, or is there another reason why you don't like it anymore?
I mean, yeah, I think they're just like throwing away like link materials, and then like also like, unless you're like hitting assigns, most of the time you already used all of your Adamancipator monsters. So like you're just adding a card to your hand that doesn't do anything. And then like that's also just like you have like a lot of the times you have to go out of your way to summon it. Like where you could just like be making like an IP or like something else, you know? Like it's not necessary.
Right, like getting the extra Guardian out doesn't really make a difference because you're getting the same level of interruption if you just make something else. And that other card you could be putting in your extra deck is just going to have more utility in the long run as opposed to the Leonite. So I definitely agree with that. Has Almirage still been holding up for you, or do you keep ever feeling like that may need to go?
Nah, I think it's really important. Like you have to play it because of like Doki Doki. Like you don't want to just get hit on your Doki Doki and then like just pass. Or like have weird hands where you have to like normal summon a researcher and then just pass on that. Like, it's either that or if you're playing Unexpected Die, which also shout out to Cody, he did convince me to cut those cards. It's either that or like Link Spider because it like serves the same purpose. And like a cool thing with the die package with the Link Spider is because like you're also playing Shade. Shade can also turn into Link Spider. But like I thought like I just wanted to play the most consistent build as possible for this tournament. Like, I was going to play the die stuff. Like, I had, like, a 44 card build with, like, the dies and, like, 2 fibers and Plague Spreader and, like, a bunch of crazy stuff.
No.
Exactly. But then I was like, am I really trying to, like, brick a bunch in this tournament? And then I was like, no, I'm just going to cut it down to 40. I'm going to listen to Cody one time and just play 39 cards. I'll throw a stupid upstart in my deck, even though the card does nothing.
Yeah, because I know you've really not been playing it leading up to this, and I just randomly saw it in your list, and I was like, oh, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just played it, and then, like, funny enough, I never bricked a single game during the entire tournament.
Oh my, I hate that Cody's hearing this right now. Cody, mute yourself. You don't need to hear good things about you. I'm kidding. I love you, Cody.
Yeah, it just didn't break. It was very consistent, and, like, it was unfortunate that I lost, like, basically every die roll. But, like, yeah, it happens.
Yep. Alright, is there anything else you want to say about the extra deck? Or, well, I guess one other thing we could talk about is, because I know before, instead of Dweller, you were trying the Union Carrier into the one Buster. I'm guessing it was just purely for consistency to cut it down, right?
Yes. I think that the Wizard Buster, if Droplets becomes more prevalent in the main deck in the format, I would definitely play Union Carrier and Wizard Buster. But those cards aren't that great right now, so I'm just going to play Dweller.
Yeah, especially since we're in a format where Virtual World's the best deck. It makes Droplet, unfortunately, not want to be played as much. So, yeah, I guess that's all we can really say about the extra deck at this point, so unless you have anything else, otherwise we'll move on.
Wizard Buster and, like, Union Carrier also make your IP better. Because, like, usually, like, the other board that you can make, instead of like specifically having 2 level 4s to go into the Dweller, you can just make the Union Carrier,
right?
And you just put the Wizard onto the Savage, then you put up an IP, and then like that can just turn into like an access code if you needed to, or like a unicorn. Like it doesn't matter. But then like it plays around droplets, because if they droplets your board, then like it's like the old Buster lock. Like the Wizard Buster just stays on your Savage.
Yeah, so someone in chat also just quick mentioned, why do we still have Doodle and Meow Meow? It's because you absolutely need these cards to play the Prank Kid cards. If you just completely cut the Prank Kid cards, you can cut these cards, but if you're going to play Prank Kid cards, because the only way to trigger the Prinkets is if you go into Prinked, Links, or Fusions. So you need to at least play these. And Doodle is just the one we played for that slot. And it also is a wind for Raptite, so that helps too. And also Meow Meow is a rock, so that's kind of cool too. So,
yeah.
Alright, now I think we're all good on the extra, so we can go to the side deck. I care about it being organized. Alright, so for the side deck, there were 2 Cycle Reader, 2 Lancia, 3 Droll, 3 Nibiru, the Duster, Lightning Storm, and Imperial Order. So, I guess the biggest thing is, how did splitting up the Cycle Reader and Lancia work for you, and also not playing the reboot? Because essentially, what most people would probably do is like take one of these slots, put it here, and then put the other into into the reboot. So, how did you feel about doing it like that?
So before going into the tournament, I wasn't playing Cycle Reader. I was playing the 3rd Lancia. So like, this is how like my extra was different. So like, imagine like no orders. So it was no order and no Cycle Readers. It was the 3rd Lancia reboot, and I don't remember what the last card was. It might have been, I don't remember what it was. It might have been like pink.
Right.
But like, so before going into the tournament, I was testing with my teammates, and Nick Petzold, he was like, "Why aren't you playing Cycle Reader?" And I was like, "Well, the deck already has like a pretty good Drytron matchup. Like, I don't really think I need Cycle Reader for this event." But he was like, "There's no reason not to play it. You just like, in addition to Droll, it's just like another like blowout card that like could destroy Drytrons. Like, instead of just having the 3 Droll, which is just like an auto pass, like you can have an additional like auto pass card." So I was like, okay. So we started cutting cards, and we eventually, he said cut the reboot. I was like, why cut the reboot? He's like, well, trap decks aren't really being played in the format right now. You already have Triple Storm and Harpies, so like you should be fine on that end. Like your deck can like already like kind of deal with back row sometimes. So I was like, okay. So I cut the reboot, and then I eventually and I cut one of the Lancias, and then I eventually got to a point where I had like 14 cards in the extra deck. So then once again, I looked at Cody's list and I saw he was playing Order, and I was like, huh, well, I guess. So I put in an Order, and shout out to Cody because it was like the worst card in my entire side deck. Was trash.
Get fucked, Cody.
Literally trash. The one time I drew it, I lost because of it, because it can activate spells. It was trash.
I love it. I love it so much. Did you feel like not having more copies of Lancia though might have hurt you in the long run, or was that realistically okay?
It was okay because like going second against, so like obviously like going into post Blazing Vortex, like the IO is definitely coming out, and I don't know if I'm putting in reboot. I'm probably just gonna put in the 3rd Lancia because like reboot never came up. Like it never was a time where I wanted reboot. Like, I think like the 4 like Storm cards are just like enough. Like reboot is just overkill. And then what do you call it? Yeah, so I just put in the 3rd Lancia. I think next format like Lancia is going to be way better because Virtual World just gets better for some reason.
Like imagine just making Virtual World better for no fucking reason.
Oh, Cody wants to know also why am I not playing Droplet? That card is so bad. That card sucks.
I can argue for it as well, and yeah, Cody does bring up a point. Like, so many people are playing Shadolls lately, so are we just no-fearing against it, or do you think there's a place to think about it?
Shadolls is the buy.
Oh, alright. That's fine then. Alright, cool. Well, also, like, Virtual World, for the most part, phases out that deck.
Yeah, like, I don't like preparing for rogue decks. Like, if I'm prepared for top cut, and it was all Drytrons and Virtual World, so I built my extra deck. I built my side deck for Virtual World and Drytron because those are going to be the most represented decks. Like, well, I mean, what's the chances? Like, if I have 2 teammates, this is like a 3v3 also, so you have to put that into consideration. What's the chances that like my slot is like the one Shadol player on their team? Like, what's the chances of there being a team just full of Shadolls? Like, who would do that to themselves?
Yeah. But the thing is, like, if you already feel like you have enough of a good virtual matchup, like if there's no other cards you'd be playing instead of that, I think the Droplet isn't bad. Just have a little bit more for, like, because they do the same thing against Drytron, plus they give you a little bit more rogue stability. So I think that's something to consider. I personally still like Droplet. I get that it's not good against Virtual World, but I think it's still a varied format to a degree, and I think it's something to consider at the very least, personally.
Oh no, going forward, definitely. Not droplets, but there would definitely be impermanences on my side.
Oh, okay.
That's another change.
We're thinking.
Nibirus would be in the main, and I'd put imperms in the side because they're just like better right now because they're a hand trap.
So you think you'd still keep the Cycle Reader then? Do you think that's...
Yeah, Cycle Reader, I think you have to play that. Like, you have to respect Drytrons. Even though, like, they're, like, going down in popularity, like, you still have to respect it.
Cody got shitted on for saying imperm. I mean, I feel like the more the decks get variated, the more imperm can have a place, but if we still stay central on Drytron and Virtual World, it's hard to justify imperm, but we have to see where the format goes.
Yeah, alright, Cody, when you told me to play imperm, Drytron was the best deck, so, like, you were wrong at the time. But I guess, like, your words, like, they aged well? Is that what people say? They aged well, yes. Because people now are playing a bunch of, like, tier 2 combo decks, like Lyralist, this deck, Dragon Link. So, like, yeah, imperm got better. But when you told me to play imperm, it was a Drytron fan.
Yeah. You know what? It unfortunately happens like that, Cody, you know? Things be like that. But,
yeah,
you know, there's a lot of things to consider going forward. So, is there anything else you'd like to say about anything? Any other shout-outs? Or, I don't know, whatever you want to say, the floor is yours.
Definitely shout out to my team and sponsor, Team Playmakers. You know, we do our thing. Shout out to Elise. She's the best. Shout out to Cody. He's a false prophet. he's a false prophet. He's a
Remember that time, Cody, where both your wins were because of other people making your deck?
Exactly,
Weird.
Cody, don't worry. Every time you have a deck idea, just run it by me, bro. I'll help you out.
Listen, Cody, I love you. I hope you do not forget that.
I'm playing Cody. You know, you're the best.
Yeah, we
longest
love you,
running national champion, bro. Come on, chill. Alright, but thank you, Elise, for having me on your channel. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for showing up. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We can definitely do more stuff like this in the future if you guys liked it. But that'll be it for this. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye!